You're listening to the Anxious Scholar Podcast, a podcast for anxious scholars. If you're a high school student who can't wait to go to university, but also is kind of overwhelmed with lots of unanswered questions like me, then you've definitely come to the right place. On this podcast, I sit down with EDHEC alumni while they share valuable advice from this exciting journey of theirs that we have yet to take. I really hope you'll enjoy this episode and learn lots of useful information about the college application process, unis, and higher education in general. So hello Alice, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for reaching out to be on the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. I was wondering if you could start by sharing a brief introduction about yourself, like where you were born, what languages you speak, when you graduated from EGM, what your current academic situation is, and whatever else you want us to know about you.
Okay, so I'm Alice. I've been at the school, EJM, since moyenne section. So it's been a while. I graduated this year, so in 2023. I was born in China, but I've basically lived my entire life in France, so there's not much to know about that. I played a lot of handball, sports. I enjoyed playing piano, guitar, any kind of guitar actually. I started electric guitar, which is really fun. And
What languages do you speak?
Oh, languages. Yeah, I speak French, English. I kind of talk a bit of Spanish. I like to say talk Italian, but I don't really speak Italian. Just go there on vacation, so I get my way around stuff, and Chinese, but I don't really speak it. I say I speak it. I just learned it for
in school.
Yeah, in school.
Perfect. Thank you. Considering that you did IB, did you think of applying to universities in other countries?
So I actually applied for EDHEC, which have a campus in London. I got in, so I could have gone to London, but I didn't really want to go to this school specifically. I had other plans. So it wasn't it's not like a English school per se. It's like a French school in London, but I didn't apply to any other schools outside of France, I would say.
And why did you decide to go to the school you are at right now?
Well, I think the most logical answer would be my friends, because I'm in school with my three best friends. So two of them are at EDHEC, and one of them is in Lille. So we live together, which is definitely a plus. And also, I think that I really like EDHEC's way of teaching. There's a lot of of internships. They're super open-minded. You have so free they give you a lot of freedom around projects. We have what we call SIP, Sustainable Impact Project, which is basically you're going to create your own boîte, from scratch. You will get you'll have to get some people that give you money for it, and it's super. There's a lot of legal action as well. So you will have to sign papers saying that if you take all legal, you'll be able to be poursuivi in justice if ever you don't, responsible for sure. Yeah.
Did you do by any chance the project Entreprendre pour apprendre when you were in high school?
No, I didn't.
Okay, but it's the same idea of
Really?
Yeah, it's maybe it wasn't available in IB, but it's about also raising your own boîte, but in high school for 1 year.
So cool.
That's really interesting. What made you want to study business?
Well, ironically, I actually dropped econ in high school, which is kind of funny because now I'm doing basically that. So I actually always liked doing not econ the pure subject, but more selling stuff. When I was a kid, I actually with my cousin would do some shows, and we'd try to sell our tickets. So it went from 10 euros at the start of the night, and it went to 1 cent at the end because no one would buy it.
Yeah.
But it was really funny. We also do drawings. I would sell at Christmas. We would cook stuff. We always had this kind of will to do stuff, create stuff, and then sell it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just always liked it. So yeah.
And could you tell us a little bit about your application process to these business schools? Was there interviews involved, like essays or other aspects of it?
So for EDHEC, I start by EDHEC because that's where I applied and I got into. So EDHEC, it was a CV. So you had to give your CV. You just basically talk about your languages, the sports, activities, anything you did. Basically, you gotta sum your entire life in one piece of paper. Then you also had questions to answer. So basically, they would give you 5 questions. So I don't know, something like, what is your project? What did you do? Give us 5 qualities and give us 5 things that you want to change about yourself, or things like that. So very personal. I think to assess your character and who you are as a person. And then there was one interview. So there was the first round. So you would know if you would be accepted for an interview. So you would be admise. No, it's pas admise. It was, you were basically allowed for an interview. That's it. So you would send in your CV, your 5 questions. You would either get admise or not, and then you would get access to this to this interview, which is a one-on-one with a teacher or a student of EDHEC. And then after the interview, you would basically wait for an answer to know if you were admitted or not. So that was for EDHEC. Then for ESCP, I think there was also an interview. I think it was a bit like EDHEC, kind of same like format. And for EM Lyon, very, very different. So you had basically the same process of CV and like questions, or like, I think it was a letter this time. And then you would have an interview, but it was not with a person. It was basically a simulation. So you sat down for an hour and a half when they would ask you, you had 2 simulations, one where you were, I think, a CEO, and you had to convince one of your worker to become a marketing director, but he still liked his position, so you have to find the right words to kind of like make him change decisions. And basically it was des avatars, and so you could see their emotions. So if he was more inclined, he would look like happy. If he was not, he would look kind of like suspicious and stuff like that. So it was very interactive. And then the end was basically math and English to see your level. I think what's good with those business schools is that they don't really look at your grades. They just look where you come from and who you are as a person, and if you fit into the program, which is, I think, really good for people like me who maybe who weren't the strongest academically, but I think is able to develop themselves because they're open-minded, and I think that's what EGM kind of like create you to be. So just what you need to do to enter any business school is to know how to sell yourself. I think it's something that's really hard to do, but with the right help and the good, I would say good encadrement, you can definitely be great at it. So if ever like people reach out to you, if they need help, they can definitely contact me. I'm definitely open, and I'll send you everything so that you can just, help anyone.
Thank you so much, Alice. That's very nice of you. Definitely you have the chance to really make your personality shine through in this application through the interviews, the simulation also. For example, simulation, it would be assessed by your audio, so they would listen to what you say, right? That's how it works.
So there was a part with audio, but the simulation part was more like multiple choice. So you would get, I think, 4 or 5 answers. So for example, I don't know, they would just be like, tell them that it's great, but lie. Just give them good and bad, be balanced or be more biased, stuff like that. And you would just give what you think was the best and what you think was the worst choice. And then they would assess you on this. So it was like choose the best option, choose the worst option.
All right. And for the interviews, what kind of questions were you asked?
Everything, like what is your dream job? Mm-hmm. Do you have a project in mind? Why would you be good for EDHEC? So you really got to research like EDHEC's motto, what they values they promote, stuff like that. Just see what they're promoting and try to fit in the box, which is not the best approach because you don't want to fit in the box, but you got to fit and not fit in the box. It's very, I think you got to sell yourself as a person that is willing to fit in the box that they need you to, but also is fit outside of the box, be different from others.
It's like read the rules before you like
Exactly. Like you gotta like follow the guidelines. You gotta be someone that will follow them. You know, the school needs to know that you're a good student that will follow what they tell you to do, but still is creative and is open-minded to and have the good approach, maybe propose other ideas, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Like in addition, bring what you have to the table.
Exactly.
And for example, EDHEC, there was like the 5 like questions that you had to answer. One of them, I think it's like your like not flaws, but like
what would you change in yourself?
Oh yeah, for example, what would you change yourself? And I think that's a question that really like is recurring even for like job interviews when you're older, like whenever, you know, when you're searching for a job at school, you know how to sell yourself. Do you have any advice on like how to not totally kind of décrédibiliser yourself?
Yeah,
but also, you know, be real, but also like show them that.
I think you gotta find something that is making you different. Like, it shouldn't be a flaw like, oh my god, I talk too much, you know? This is not a good thing to say. But be like, I tend to be like overwhelmed with ideas. And so I think that it's a flaw because maybe I'm all over the place. But I'm also able to kind of like rearrange those thoughts into categories, for example. So basically you say that you have a flaw, but you counter it with like, it helps me to be more organized, kind of. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's selling yourself. You'll, like in business, you'll learn that you gotta be real. You can't just lie to your, like, whoever, your buyer, but you still need to like sound credible. It's very complicated. I think it's something that you got to work on, but whenever you got it, it could like, it's great. It's a great skill to have.
Do you think in this like discipline and in this like industry, you know, business in general, it's important to have like psychology skills, you know, like teach this, like learn this, for example?
No, for sure. I think what you need to be for business is be open-minded. Like you can't excel, like exceller in this like domain if you don't think about what other things, like for example, because the market is such a big thing that everybody don't think the same thing as you. So if you are not able to pinpoint what the buyer thinks, if you are not able to like identify their needs because you just apply your needs to everyone else, then you won't be good at this job, because you need to kind of like, you need to understand other people's like way of thinking. And I think psychology definitely plays a role in that, for sure.
And how are you liking the university right now? You've been studying here for a few weeks now. You started this year. How's the environment, the people there, the vibes?
It's so fun. I think that it's been just a few weeks, so I guess the friend groups have not like yet are very like solid. I met a few people, they're super nice. And like EDHEC is just like huge. Like the campus is like crazy. It's like in Lille, it's like amazing. There's a sport facility with like a swimming pool. There's a multi sports like court with like basketball, badminton. There's handball. There's a soccer field, there's a squash, there's fitness, there's a dojo, there's a dance room. There's like so many things, and it's amazing because I love sports. And also there's music rooms. There's 2 music rooms. There's different restaurants that you can go to. There's a brasserie, there's a snack, there's a real restaurant, there's a salad bar, there's a Oshango, there's like so many things. The rooms are amazing, so I think it's like EDHEC is really like a great school.
That's amazing. It makes me think of also Polytechnique that has a big campus and a lot of facilities for like sports. You did handball for 7 years at the EC Paris Blanc Club. So for 7 years, are you considering continuing that there?
Yeah, I actually applied for handball and soccer. So I got into the soccer team. I'm waiting for the answer for the handball team. It's really fun. Everyone's really nice. The soccer team had this, like, the coaches are basically students, so we're like super close. And in handball as well, it's it's really close to my house because I live in front of EDHEC, so I just go home after practice. And I don't know, sports there, yeah, as I said, is amazing.
And back in high school, was it easy for you to juggle between like sports at such a high level and like your rigorous curriculum, your schoolwork?
It was okay. I think it was definitely I had more work, I would say, because it would take a big chunk of my afternoon on the day I would have handball and of my weekend. So I think handball, and I did soccer for in terminale, so it would take 2 entraînements per week plus 1 match during the weekend. So it was definitely a lot of time, but I think it was okay because I work better at night anyway. So like it wasn't much taken out of my day, I would say.
And what was your favorite thing about it?
I guess my favorite thing about it was to just get stuff out of my head. I think that now that I'm older, whenever I'm just upset at anything, I just go do sports for an hour and a half, and it just helps my mind get out of like my life. It's kind of like, an outside. It's 2 different worlds, and I can like go between those 2 worlds whenever I just feel like I want to escape, I would say.
And it helps you in a way when you're studying because you've cleared your mind and you've had a real break.
For sure. No, that's definitely it. And now I think I can't live without sports. During the summer, I wouldn't do it much sports, and I can feel the big difference when I'm doing sports intensely. I'm just so much better in my mind, I think.
And how you feel, how you are.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, you did IB. Why would you recommend or disrecommend someone to choose this program?
IB is very, very demanding, and the school don't hide it at all. I think I underestimated how hard it was, for sure. I don't know, it's a lot of like alone work, if I can say. So you basically work on your own all the time. There's like few classes, but what they ask you is for in the long run. So they ask you like you have a lot of like assignments, but it's in length with what you're gonna do at the end of the year. And it's there's not much classes, but there's a lot of I don't know. Independent work for sure. The EE, it's a 4,000 word essay, and you gotta do it throughout your 2 years that you have an IB, and it's super, super long and super, super demanding. So for me, that's I prefer working, not on my own, like with the cats. But they said it at the start of the year. I just said I could do it. I definitely couldn't. I really needed a lot of help. But yeah, I think it's very demanding. So it corresponds to certain people. Some don't correspond to the course. But the school offers you a really good, I would say, guideline. Like they guide you well
towards this choice.
So at the start of the year, it told me to do it, like that I could do it. So I guess that they were right.
Do they give you like in advance kind of the assignments, like you said, so you know in advance of 2 years that you're going to do this big essay, so you can organize yourself?
Yeah.
If that's your thing, if you're like an organized person and you want to like plan your 2 years out, you can do that. Or because maybe in other programs like BFE, they tell you a bit less in advance and it's more like along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the case for every assignment in IB or just the essay? So
100%.
You know you have the syllabus in advance.
You have everything in advance. You have like in the first summer of your IB, so in the summer of the going into première, they gave you a list of like 7-8 books to read, and 9 I think, or more. I can't remember how many, but there's like a lot of books to read, and the syllabus is in like languages is just going to be on those books. And I did language and literature, so we also had like non-literature work. So we had not debates, we had the Michelle Obama's speech, we had op-ed, stuff like that. And this is not given in advance, but basically the literature works, you know exactly what you're gonna have, and you're gonna work through them through the 2 years. And your final exam, 2 of your final grades are gonna be on those books. And also, you know exactly what are going to be the exam on. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not the paper one, but like most of them, you know what it's going to be on. It's going to be on what you worked on in this through the 2 years, and you work on it. Like, you know exactly how it's going to be, you know. It's super guided. It's the same thing throughout the 2 years. So I guess for someone that's very well organized and that really enjoy taking advance on the 2 years is very easy for them. But for me, that's more like a spontaneous worker. So I kind of like spontaneously be like, oh, I have this essay due in like 2 weeks. Maybe I should work on it. It was a bit more overwhelming, I would say.
Mm-hmm. But it conversely can be like reassuring for someone to know everything in advance. Was this like the case, for example, the kind of grading criteria, instructions of, was it clear what the teachers were expecting from you?
I think for me it was clear. I knew exactly what I had to do. Sometimes it wasn't clear, but the teacher were always open to kind of share it with me at least. Because I did the matière where they would be very clear about it. I think it was a bit less clear for science because the curriculum changed in the last years. But definitely for me it was super clear, I think. I had a hard time with the EE because I had a hard time when I had the EE due, so it was during the summer between première and terminale. I didn't know if I was going to do the full IB diploma or not. So I think that I kind of let it down, saying that I did not need to do it, but I actually did. So it was super confusing. I was in this whole spiral. We didn't have good communication with my supervisor. I think that I had a bit of a hard time communicating at the time. So it was really hard, but for people that have really good communication skills, that are able to kind of like talk with teachers openly, I think that IB is a good program, yeah.
And in IB, you had the chance to take theater as a standard level. Why did you decide to take the subject, and why would you recommend someone to take it too?
So actually, theater has been, it was proposed at school since like CZM, I think. You can do it as an extra. And I never did it because I have the worst fear of stages like ever. I'm super scared of stages. Even though I did like piano for like the longest time where I would do like concerts. I don't know. I was always scared of stages, so I didn't think that theater was for me. But when I saw it in the IB program and I looked at the curriculum, it wasn't just about how to act. It was also how to stage, how to like create props, how to create your own storyline, stuff like that. So it was a lot more than just being an actor. So I thought it was also skills that I could use in my life, you know, just being able to improvise or being able to just shake shame off and kind of, you know, be yourself or just to let your creativity show. I think that what theater has brought to me, and I still use those skills in a daily life, like all the time, even at school. So yeah, I think it was definitely a revelation for me, and I think everyone should do theater. It's just amazing.
I think it's really interesting to do it when you're studying business because it's like you said, putting up a stage and creating something, and you know, the mise en scène, and it's all of these aspects that, for example, you have to think about when you create a business, when you create a plot. It's very interesting, and it's also very creative. In high school, you also volunteered at FAF, Famille Adoptive Française. Could you tell us a little bit about what it is, what you did there?
So I actually was adopted at the age of 10 months. And so La FAF is the organization that helped my parents adopt me. And so they basically every year they do what we call the kermesse in France. It's like kind of like a fair. And they just rent I think last year was a school. And they kind of sell things, and all the money they collect goes to this organization. So I would just help every year to set up the tables for like the shops. I would help selling stuff whenever, you know, sellers would go to lunch. I would help them. I would keep the shop open and stuff like that. I was kind of like, I was still young. I mean, I did it since I was, I think, maybe 10 until I was 16 or 17. And so I was just like little kid that was running around all the time, and if someone needed my help, they would just like call me. And I think that it really helped me to see also the business world, because as soon as I would get behind the tables, I was in a very like seller mode. I was like, I gotta sell these stuff. So I think that it was really fun. It was a really fun experience as well.
And you also did the care committee. Could you tell us a little bit about what it is and why you decided to be part of it?
So I did it for 6 months. I said I did it. I didn't do it for long. I was part of the care committee. So we had the care ambassadors, and then we had the care committee. So the care ambassadors were part of the care committee, but I was also an ambassador, meaning that we had like reunions every Tuesday, I think it was, and it would last from, I think, 4 to 6. It was really long, and we'd just talk about how to better the school. So we had this one huge like rassemblement with the entire school. We talked in front of the entire school. It was really scary. It was also the peer what is it, the peer leaders. Yeah, peer leaders. We kind of organized that. It was how to better the school, and it was just a lot of work, and that's why I kind of like dropped it, because I think I couldn't juggle handball or soccer plus the IB plus that. But I think that the experience I took out of it was definitely very helpful, because it helped me to be better at communication, better at explaining ideas. It was kind of like creating a business plan, but like in 30 minutes. So you came up with an idea, and then we just built on it during like those 30 minutes. And then it was really fun to see how an idea could become reality in like so little time, because we were like a lot. We took, the library in the théâtre. It was like we put like a table in a circle like that, and we're like so many around a table, and it was really hard to talk. But they would just like take your idea, and literally maybe 3 months afterwards it was like real. Like it was, you could see, for example, we put posters around. Well, 2 months after, there was posters everywhere in the school. So it was really fun, I think, seeing how an idea can become reality in so little time.
When collaborating with other people.
Exactly.
Brainstorming together, building up on each other's ideas.
Yeah.
You said there was a lot of discussion. What were like the issues that you were discussing to better the school, like you said?
I think there was talking about inclusivity. How like we have now with gender neutral bathrooms.
Yeah.
Well, that was a big talk in our in the care committee for sure. But also just words of affirmation. I don't know if you remember the boards where you put like post notes with like a word of affirmation or a beautiful like sentence and stuff. Well, that was also the care committee, and I think it was just to try to make the school a better place. It's like a school where like school is like a place where you work, but they also wanted to be a place where you want to go because you feel safe. So I think the care committee's motto was to make the school a better place.
Because we spend so much time there, and it has
Exactly.
so much impact on our lives as young people, and it's very like formative at this age.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to join it?
Well, I think that I don't really know why I want to join it. It's a good question. It never was like I want to join the care committee, like otherwise I'm gonna die. It was just like an opportunity that kind of like was brought to me, and it was Madame Le Maire that came to me, and it was like, I saw that you want to be part of the care ambassadors care committee, so I offer you this place. And I just took it because I don't know, I just thought it would be fun, and it was really fun for the time I was there.
And more logistically, because personally it interests me, and just for people to know, you talked about like there's like the ambassadors, which I imagine they're kind of like care delegates in each class. So there's 2 of them, and you can also join even if you're not elected in your class. Is that how it works?
It wasn't really like your class; it was more your promo. So, for example, I was with Alexandre. We were like the care ambassadors for at the time, I think we were in première or seconde. I think we were in première. So we were the ambassador of the première. There was also ambassador for the terminale, and there was ambassador for the seconde. And we weren't really known. We just volunteered. So it wasn't really, we weren't elected by our promo. It was just, we're in première and we want to do that, can we? And then she just selected 2 people. So
okay, that's very interesting to know. Very useful. Thank you. And you mentioned also that you had a period where you didn't necessarily do well in school, which impacted both your mental health and also like your academic performance. What do you think caused this, and how did you, most importantly, manage to cope with this?
I think that, I guess it's like teenagehood, I would say. I think that you just get hit because you're in between like a child and an adult, and you still have a child's mind, but with kind of have adult responsibilities. And I think it kind of like hit me all of a sudden. And so it just felt very overwhelming. And the school did not help in the sense that like we had a lot of work. So I felt kind of like drowning. And I think that what helped me was definitely my friends. For sure, they were super supportive. I would have like lunch with my best friend. We would go to McDonald's every Thursday. We had faritas I think it was every Wednesday or something. It was like, I don't know, I had this like rhythm that would help me kind of like get a routine. And I felt like I had a grasp of my life because I had such like a clocked routine that, whenever I felt empowered because I could have decisions on my life. I think that definitely helped. And I know my parents were super supportive as well. My girlfriend was super supportive. My girlfriend's dog was super supportive as well. Just their entire family was also super supportive. I think it's just I'm a people person. I need people in my life, and the people that I had at the time were great and amazing. I'm so thankful for them. So I think that definitely helped for sure. Yeah.
It's really important that you're speaking about this because I think it's something teenagers all over the world are going through, and not a lot of people are talking enough about it because it's a time where, like you said, we have a lot of responsibilities, and it's not very clear what we're supposed to do, where we're going, whether it's like universities, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or like your job or anything. And like you said, having control, having people that are kind of stable, always in your life, always here for you, it's very important. Yeah. And definitely especially when we have like such a rigorous curriculum, such a demanding program, because it's very hard, it's very difficult, it's interesting also. But it's interesting that you mentioned that because the school actually put some measures into place that I wanted to talk to you about. In your opinion, for example, before we're like in second, we don't have real grades, like it's only the colors, the compétences. So this was obviously something that allowed students to not compare themselves as much as they would with like 20 points, so it's just like 4. And for example, this year we don't have like the moyenne en pronote. Do you think that this is something that would help students by like reducing unnecessary competition?
I don't really know because I never fell in competition with anyone else. I think that in my personal experience, it never was an issue. I never felt like, also I don't have siblings, so I never felt in competition with them either. I think the closest to siblings I have is my cousins. We're super close, and so I felt kind of in competition with them, I think, but it wasn't about grades. It was more about what schools I went to and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that colors was a good thing. I know a lot of people don't like it because you don't really understand very much because I think we're so formatted to have out of 20 or out of whatever that it's like tu perds tes repères. You don't really know where you're at. If you're like you have a green or a yellow, what's the difference? I think the school maybe needs to be more clear about it. I don't know. Do they give feedback?
I think that's very good. Like, for example, the bulletin, there's always like feedback for the commentary from a teacher. This can be like reinforced even in like every work. For example, my like biology teacher, she always she says leave this space in the beginning so I can like write a commentary so you can like know how to improve, like what you did wrong, and I think that should be really like reinforced. Yeah,
I think so too. And for like the moyenne, I think it's good they don't put it in anymore. I genuinely think that I never was a victim of it, but I know that my friends were. In the sense that, I don't know, you feel, like putting a moyenne, if you're underneath it, you feel like you're below people. Like when you quantify a person's, work with numbers, you feel inferior all the time. Whereas when it's just a comment, it's more personal. It's, you got to work on that, or you gotta do better here, or you're doing great here. I feel like for the mind, it's more broad, so it helps with not feeling a lesser person than someone else just because of a grade, I think.
It's like more understandable and concrete in terms of like skills and not just like a number that doesn't really mean anything in like your performance.
Exactly, for sure.
I understand. And the question about like mental health, it can also be like influenced by like social media, which I think is a factor that like we don't talk enough about, because our generation is like, if we think about it, is the kind of the first one to encounter it, the first one to really be all the time living with it. So it's a very new problem. There's a lot of things that come out of it, like constant comparison, like outside and inside and outside of school, like the fear of missing out and having too much information, also like dopamine dependence that makes you really like maybe addicted, that takes a lot of time away. Has this also impacted your life or your mental health in a good or bad way?
I think I was never really like social media dependent because I had sports. Yeah, exactly. I think sports was my drug, entre guillemets. It wasn't really like, it's just really helped me again to like separate the two worlds, reality, and I was just in my own world when I was doing sports. So I don't think social media, I go a lot on social media, like, you know, but it was never a dependency. Like I didn't have to go on it to feel better because I had sports and music outside of it. So yeah, for me, I don't think it was a problem.
And it can also be very beneficial where you can like communicate with other people and actually, you know, make this better.
Yeah, for sure. Like with my cousins, we always talk over like Instagram. We just send each other like TikToks or whatever. And I think it's like it helps strengthen the link. So for me, it was actually beneficial, I think, more than it was detrimental.
Definitely, like communication, it really strengthens that. Who was your favorite teacher at EGM?
Mr. Tokley. I think all my like theater peers would definitely agree with that. Mr. Tokley, like with no hesitation, he is just like a great person, and like we talked a lot even outside of school. We talked about, you know, our own families and stuff like that. It's just like, even as a human being, he's a great person. Because we know all of our teachers more like in a school like environment. So there are teachers. It's more like teacher-students relationship. Whereas Mr. Tokley, he always made us feel adult to adults. You know, he didn't felt like he has power over us because he's a teacher. He was just our teacher, but also our friend. He sent us like a letter the day of graduation that we had to open the day of graduation, where he was saying how he was so happy to have us as a class and that he wished us all the best, that we're great people and stuff. Like, I don't know, we had this relationship with him that was so special, and him as a human being allowed that, and I think that he's a great person, and I really, really appreciate him for sure.
I think as a teacher, like it's very important to kind of share your knowledge about the discipline that the students are learning about, but also, you know, teaching them, being like a role model, like making them, allowing them to look up to you as a person,
exactly,
humanly, morally, you know, socially also.
But I think what helped that is that he's a theater teacher, so like he can allow himself to have this proximity with his students. Because when you're a bio teacher, you can't really have, because what you're teaching is a lot more like hardcore, if I can say. It's not as, like, you can't express yourself as freely as when you're a theater teacher. So I think that definitely helped. But even from like a personal point of view, Mr. Tokley is just a great person. Like, it's a person I would love to have as a friend, you know? If you see what I mean?
I see what you mean. It's very rare, and it's very valuable when you have these relationships with your teacher.
Yeah, for sure.
You said that you're doing this interview for those who might have had similar difficulties as you did and do not know if they'll be able to integrate their dream university. What advice would you give to them?
So I think that what I went through in EJM is not what they portray. Like, they show a lot of like perfect students, like people that integrate, I don't know, Yale, Harvard, Oxford, which is really good, and it's like those students, they made them, kind of not made them, but like they formed them. And I think that students like me that have a bit more difficulties, they're a bit more in the shadows, which is understandable because they have like this image to keep up, and I totally agree with it. But I think that doing this interview is a way to show that even if you have difficulties, you can still figure it out, because the school offers such a great image that like any school will want you. Like, you know, you see like other schools like higher education see EGM as a great formation, and they definitely will want you in their school. So I think the advice I would give people is that to, get better first. So if ever they're having difficulties with mental health, get better first, because it will always be okay. And just try to have a consistent work ethic. If you're consistent, then you will get into anything you want, But don't worry about where you're gonna go, because I think schools all want, just having EJM right on your forehead will get you anywhere. So yeah, just be consistent, get better first, get to feel better, and then everything will just fall in line. It was scary kind of, because when I applied, I thought I would never get into anything, honestly, and I saw almost all of my schools accept me. I don't know, it felt like I was the queen of the world, kind of. It's kind of weird saying that, but I don't know, everything kind of fell into in line. Instantly.
Yeah, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and now you're a clear example that it gets better. That,
exactly.
There's people like you, because the whole idea of the podcast is to show current students that there are students just like you who went through the whole journey, went through the whole path, and that you can do it too. And if we don't show, different profiles, even if they're not, for example, kind of the standard, expected, like you said, Harvard academically, the students might think that, oh, well, I'm not enough for the school, or maybe they're not going to want to take me, or, all of these thoughts that are very normal for teenagers who are kind of figuring out their identity, their confidence. So I think it's very important that you wanted to do this interview. I thank you for reaching out, really.
Of course.
And I really loved hearing your story. And for the last question, actually, not the last question, the idea of really the light at the end of the tunnel and everything going better, you have projects. What would your dream job be like?
I think that what really helped me to get into school is I have a very clear project in mind. It seems kind of odd, I would say. I want to open my own bakery, a chain of bakeries, to kind of make the French savoir-faire in other countries, because I went to London, for example, and let's say that London's bread is not the best bread ever. From a very French perspective, it's not the best. Italian have very good pizza, but the bread is no salt, no nothing, stuff like that. And I think that there's definitely a business to do there. And I love baking, like bakeries. I did my stage de seconde in a bakery, and I don't know, everything about it, I love it so much. And I just wanted to pursue my dreams while still doing while still be able to sustain myself in a way. So I think that opening a bakery, a chain of them around the world, is a way of me doing what I love with still keeping a business aspect out of it. And also, I would like to keep also an environmental aspect to it. So a zero waste campaign. So anything that's left over, offer it to people around the world. Offer classes of baking, because bread is so cheap. Bakeries sell it really expensive, but it's so cheap to make. Just flour, water, levure, and then you got your bread. It's a technique, but it's very nutritious, and it's very cheap. So definitely help people get the right ingredient and just make cheap stuff, and without buying it super expensively. I think it's definitely something I want to do.
And what does success mean to you?
And I think what success means to me is that just do something you enjoy, do something that you see yourself in, that you want to do yourself, not what other people want you to do, but just really reflect on what you want to do. And if you do it, it will definitely just be success, because you won't, don't do something for someone, do it for yourself, and you'll see that everything's going to be so easy, and it's just, you will cherish it. And because you're going to do it your entire life, you got to do something that you love. And it's definitely, I think that's what success means to me.
Thank you so much, Alice, for sharing your story, and congratulations on starting this new chapter of your life.
Thank you.